is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here then welcome to my channel, and in today's video we are going to be talking about my favorite anime of 2024. This video is going to be full of anime that aired from the winter 2024 anime season to the fall 2024 anime season. And while I do feel like I am pretty good at keeping up with seasonal anime, I know there's probably stuff that I missed that won't be here today that maybe would have been in another timeline. But you know, this is what I have, and it looks different than I expected it to. I'm honestly still not sure what to make of this list. I feel like it came together much easier last year because this was hard. And on that note, I left movies off of this list entirely because that would have made things much harder. But both Look Back and Haikyuu the Dumpster Battle came out in 2024, and both of those were incredible and two of my favorite things that I watched this year. But yeah, any other choices that I made will be explained along the way, and with that, let's go ahead and get into the honorable mentions. And these are ranked, so the last name that I say will be the series that was closest to getting into the top 10. Starting off with Villainous Level 99, I may be the hidden boss, but I am not the Demon Lord. Tadaima, Okairi, Pseudo Harem, Cherry Magic 30 Years of Virginity Can Make You a Wizard, Mr. Villain's Day Off, Mayonaka Punch, Train to the End of the World, Positive Negative Angler, Brave Bang Bravern, My Dear Friend Noko-tan, the second core of Frieren Beyond Journey's End, and Laid Back Camp Season 3. And now that those are all out there, let's go ahead and begin with number 10. An Oblivion Battery follows a star pitcher and catcher duo who were unstoppable together during their middle school baseball careers. They have crushed the dreams of many, including Taro Yamada, who has since quit the baseball team and has now purposefully enrolled in a high school where there is no baseball team in sight. That is until he discovers that his two new classmates are that unstoppable duo. And he also finds out that the catcher has lost his memory and now has no interest in the sport. I did not expect this show to make this list, and do I feel a little bit bad that a show with a running joke that is just somebody screaming nipple hair is above Frieren and Laid Back Camp? And the answer is yes. Yes, of course I do. Like, this does not feel good, but it is what I feel and I have come to accept it. And that somebody that I mentioned a second ago is Kei Kaname. He is the catcher from the description, and the synopsis on my anime list refers to him as a, quote, vulgar class clown. And clown is correct. Fully. But at a certain point, it just became so much fun. Like, it's silly and ridiculous and, let's face it, kind of stupid. But the show also knows that it's silly and ridiculous and kind of stupid, and they also have some really great and fun characters. There is fun sports anime banter and relationships. And from a sports anime standpoint, it really felt like everything came together here in a way that you want to see from a sports anime. Like, I am kind of shocked that this anime didn't get bigger than it is. It is also really well animated. I'm rooting for this one pretty hard here, and I am very curious to see where they're going to go from a story standpoint moving forward, because they have been renewed, and I feel like it is only going to get sillier from here. And for better or for worse, I do have a lot of affection for this show. They made me laugh. But speaking of affection, at number 9, we have A Sign of Affection, and A Sign of Affection follows our main character, who is a hearing-impaired college student named Yuki, who has a chance encounter with a fellow student and friend of a friend on a train. And even though he can speak 3 languages, he cannot yet speak sign language, so this story follows these two as they learn to communicate with each other as their feelings grow, and they begin to let each other inside of their own worlds. I mean, this show is adorable. I love these two so much. They have so many sweet and adorable moments together. And I also just really like our main character just on her own. They even managed to get me invested in the side couples as well, which I did not think would happen. Especially since one of them is like the girl likes the main love interest and is mean to the main character because of that trope, and I dislike that trope a lot, and I don't love the way A Sign of Affection handles it either. And then there is also one guy who I would just love to like reach into my screen and just pull him out, discard him, and just have him gone from the show forever. But otherwise, they are a very pretty show in terms of character designs and backgrounds and just overall atmosphere. There were a handful of dates that they went on that I really loved, that were probably some of my favorite moments on a show that gave me a lot of favorite moments. They also have a focus on like language learning, both sign language and kind of just languages in general, that I really liked, and then also a focus on travel that makes me very excited for the future of these two characters and their future potential travels together. This show just has so many sweet little moments and then also very large moments that just brought me me so much joy. And I ended up thinking about this show a lot whenever I watched or tried to watch other romance anime. It was a major highlight for me overall, even if they aren't perfect. And I immediately hauled their manga, and I really do hope to get to it soon, especially since I don't think this has a renewal yet, which, if that's the case, what are we doing? Let us have this. And at number 8, we have Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night. And Jellyfish follows one of our main characters who is a skilled artist who gave up on her passion after her classmates made fun of her jellyfish mural back when she was in elementary school. Years later, she encounters a fan of this mural who happens to be a former idol with a troubled past who also helps her decide to chase her dream again. And we follow them and two other characters as they form a band named Jelly and strive to turn it into a global hit and also just free themselves from their pasts. Okay, this show has so much heart. It made me cry multiple times. I love the characters, I love the story, the music, the art style, the animation, and they have the type of chasing your dream storyline that is going to try to make you cry and feel things, and they're not subtle at all about it. And while I do feel like that could be done better, it's also just kind of part of their charm for me. And also the relationships are so incredible. I was fully in love with this show by the end of the first episode, and I just fell in so much love with the atmosphere and like the space of time that they created, and it really did feel special, and I have so much gratitude for this show and their storylines. And just like the overall messages surrounding dream chasing, it really did mean a lot to me, and it still does. And by all means, this anime probably should have been my favorite anime of 2024, and for about 11 weeks, they basically were, and they were 1 week away from solidifying it. And then we hit week 12 and they finale'd, and I hated it. It felt like such a mess. The story wrapped up way too quickly and also too nicely. It feels like things happened out of order, and it was just like so much buildup over the course of this season, and it just didn't come together in a satisfying way. And it crushed me in a way that I feel like I can never look at this show the same way again, and that's what I hate the most. Which is why they're down at number 8, because they do definitely deserve a spot on my list. Like, I have too much love for every other episode of this show for them not to make this video. There were moments in that finale that I did love, but the rest of it is probably the most unfortunate thing to happen to me in terms of anime watching in 2024. We are going to talk a lot today about anime that I didn't think that I would like, but there is only one anime that I actively did not want to like. And that brings us to number 7, and that is Dandadan. And Dandadan follows one of our main characters, Momo, who after a recent breakup stands up for her awkward classmate against his bullies. He then mistakes her for a new friend who shares his interests in aliens and UFOs, but Momo's own beliefs are more supernatural, and she believes that aliens do not exist. And this turns their relationship into a rivalry where they are going to attempt to prove each other wrong, and despite this initial clash, they actually end up forming a pretty close bond. And they end up taking on a variety of urban legends and paranormal entities, and also discover their own supernatural powers. So fun fact, I actually did try to read the Dandadan manga back in 2023, and the first chapter made me so uncomfortable that I dropped it immediately. There was a big part of me that did not want to try again, did not want to watch this anime adaptation. Then I saw its studio, and here's another fun fact about me. Science Saru is my favorite anime studio, and they have been for a while now. They've created some of my all-time favorite anime. I'm also just a big fan of Masaaki Yuasa's work in general, and he's not in fact Dandadan's director, but there are bits and pieces of his work reflected in here, as this is Science Saru. And they very much turned Dandadan into a Science Saru anime, from the animation, the walking, the running, just all the things that you would see in a Science Saru anime were here. And they were incredible. Like, I cannot put into words how much I love seeing Science Saru thrive with this show and just like all the success they are having. Now, as for Dandadan itself, I really love Okarun and Momo. I ship them together. It is growing pretty strong. I love their relationship. I love them individually. They also do have some really fun comedy. Again, they're pretty stupid and raunchy, but for the most part, it is just fun and ridiculous. They also have a lot of heart. I cried at the episode that everyone everyone else did. And some of the most fun that I had with anime all year was just watching these two lovable morons run around and away from things. They are incredibly well animated, and saying that feels like an understatement. So if all of that is the case, then why number 7? And that's because they are still the series that I thought they were when I dropped them at chapter 1. Like, the more assaulty situations still do make me very uncomfortable, and while the existence of specifically 2 of the characters on this show is very clever, it's very smart, I get why these 2 are the way that they are, but they are also really annoying at times. Like, they're supposed to be, but still. And I'm honestly not sure how much I would like this series if it was any other studio. Like, I suspect Science Saru might be doing some really heavy lifting here for me, but we'll see what the future holds. So moving on to number 6, we have a show that I thought was for sure going to be super boring, a very easy week 1 drop, and that is Orb on the Movements of Earth. And Orb follows our main character, who is a 12-year-old prodigy, who believes in living rationally and not being strayed by his own emotions, which leads him to declaring his intention to study theology, which in 15th century Poland is the field of study that is held in the highest regard. But then he meets a mysterious man who upends his life by sparking his desire to pursue his actual passion, which is astrology. And now he is determined to prove the theory of heliocentrism, which is the theory that the Earth revolves around the sun, which is considered heresy by the powerful church. And if caught, those who do not align with the church suffer gruesome consequences. They are probably one of the most interesting and captivating shows on this list, and I was not expecting that at all. Like, I did not think that this would be my thing, but by the end of those first couple of episodes, because they did have a double premiere, I was fully hooked. And just seeing all the conversations surrounding philosophy and the characters discovering the truth of the world and falling into that quote-unquote heresy, it was all so fascinating. And then just watching them strategize and sneak around, like, I got so invested in this, and this show has one of the smartest, scariest main villains I have ever seen. And Orb, they're going to show you the torture scenes, and they are so hard to watch, and it just all adds to the suspense of the storyline. Which, speaking of, this show is also very good at hiding things and its plot twists, which also just adds to that suspense. There's also just this love for stars and astronomy that pairs with, like, really pretty scenery that I really loved as well. Like, the show is probably my biggest surprise of the year, and again, they are currently airing their second half right now, so I would expect to see them again on this channel at some point in the new year. I certainly expect for them to be in this video again next year. But while we're talking about series making this video 2 years in a row, at number 5, we have the second core of the Apothecary Diaries. And the Apothecary Diaries follows our main character who, after she is sold to the Imperial Court as a maid, is trying to hide her apothecary background and knowledge to avoid the attention it could bring her. However, soon after she arrives, she is able to easily solve the mysterious deaths surrounding the Emperor's children, and even though she did try to solve it anonymously, one of the eunuchs is able to single her out and promote her to lady-in-waiting to a highly favored concubine, where she must continue to use her expertise to solve and fix different situations that happen in the Imperial Court. And yeah, my love for this series has only grown stronger, and specifically my love for Mao Mao as our main character has only grown stronger. She really is just an amazing character, and the second half of the show was so focused in on her, and it really did pull some strong emotions out of me. I also really love the mystery aspects as well. That is something that I already knew about this series, but they do mystery extremely well. I think they're one of the best to do it, and I've grown bored with many anime who have also done it. But I don't think I could ever grow bored of the Apothecary Diaries, and we saw a lot get unveiled and come together in this second half. And we also saw the relationship between Mao Mao and Jinshi grow as well. And that was a lot of fun too, and I said this last year, but I do really love the relationship that these two have with one another, even if Jinshi can take it too far sometimes. They had a lot of really heartwarming moments in this core, and also really comedic moments as well with their banter. And the show just has some really fun comedic timing just all around. The finale also contains what I consider to be one of the best and most beautiful moments that I watched all year. And again, I do own the manga for this series. I hope to get to it very soon because I need more of this, but also, like, I am getting more of this in 2 days at the time of filming this because season 2 is coming out, so I have a lot of Apothecary Diaries to look forward to, and I love that so much. And And that is going to bring us to number 4, which is going to be Blue Box. And Blue Box follows our main character, who is a badminton player who falls for a girl on the basketball team who inspires him to try to get to nationals. I have been a manga reader of this series for a few years now, and it's been one of my favorite manga for a few years now. And seeing them not only with an adaptation, but with this adaptation has felt so amazing. And also very surreal. I cried while watching their premiere because of how happy I was for them. And also because that premiere was adorable and just like one of the cutest, most wholesome things ever. But yeah, the show has some really amazing characters and a really amazing main romance. Again, very wholesome, and I love seeing how much these two inspire one another. And I also just love the way that they cheer each other on and communicate with each other as a whole. They have some really amazing moments that I loved and adored seeing animated. They also have some amazing friendships and comedic timing and just a lot of charm to them. But they are also a sports anime as well, and I do think that they do it really well, and I think they balance it really well with the romance. Because one doesn't exist without the other, and there are so many moments, both relationship and individual character growth wise, that are reliant on both. Like, the characters are so driven when it comes to their passion for their sport, and they also do have that sports anime style story to them as well, with all of the rivalries, the striving to be the very best that ever was, and team banter, and just overall structure of the story as well. And like, this was an adaptation that made a favorite series that I already really loved and adored into a favorite series that I somehow love even more. And it also helps that their manga is having a really amazing year as well, and is doing some really amazing things that I cannot wait to see adapted someday. And there's a lot that I just can't wait to see, and I am really excited for their future. Campfire cooking in another world with my absurd skill. Reborn as a vending machine, I now wander the dungeon. All names of anime I did not enjoy, and yet they share something very specific in common with my number 3, and that is food. And also like dungeon and fantasy, but yes, number 3, Delicious in Dungeon. And Delicious in Dungeon follows our main character and his party after they are defeated by a dragon that they ran into deep inside of the dungeon. This is a battle that leaves them without money, supplies, and also a party member, who a few of them are very much determined to go back and save, but they have no money, they have no food. So that leads our main character to come up with a plan to eat the monsters that they find along the way. My hopes were not high going into this show because, as I mentioned earlier, I have not had the greatest experiences with anime within this genre, but this show is so much fun. I love their fantasy aesthetic. It's one of my favorite things ever. But the thing that hooked me into this series immediately is when I noticed that they were funny. Like, there is some really amazing, absurd, silly comedy in here, and they also just have a really amazing cast of characters who have a lot of chemistry with one another. So they do have some really great banter, but they are also shockingly dark at times. And I think this series has a really interesting balance in between like fun and silly and dark humor, and then also just darkness. And I'm not gonna lie, that tone shift really did throw me off at times, but that was also part of the fun, and I was just fully along for the journey here. It's also a Studio Trigger anime, so of course they have some really amazing and incredible animation, and just a really interesting world in general that's fun to explore, especially with all the magic and like the different monsters and beings in the series. And the cooking and the eating scenes also had that weird balance of like fun and relaxing, but also kind of horrifying vibe to them. But again, I thought that that was fun, and I never thought that I would see the day where a show like this would not only be in this video, but this high up on the list. But Delicious in Dungeon really does deserve it, and this is another one that I've held the manga of since watching the anime, and I cannot wait to just get more into this series in 2025 because I feel like my love and investment in it is only going to grow stronger. Okay, so we have now reached my top 2, and if the whole list was hard for me to make and rank, this was like almost impossible. Because one of them I knew was going to be here. I knew they were going to be very high in this video as long as they didn't fully piss me off and destroy all of my hopes and dreams. But the other was kind of a surprise that I didn't see coming until it was right in front of me. But I did it. I ranked them, and with that, my runner-up for my favorite anime of 2024 is Senpai is an Otokonoko, follows one of our main characters, Saki, who finds herself captivated by her senior Makoto, who is on the school board. And although she's worried that Makoto might feel uncomfortable receiving a confession from another girl, she works up the courage to tell her anyway. And through that confession finds out that Makoto is actually just dressing as a girl. And now Makoto is the one expecting her to be freaked out and rejects her confession, citing his identity as the reason why he's never fallen in love before. But Saki has no issues with his identity at all and is determined to become his first love, which leads Makoto to wonder whether or not he can truly fall in love with somebody else if he cannot find it within himself to love himself first. I kind of don't even know where to start with this, honestly, but when I look back at my favorite anime of 2023 video, that year was won by a very adorable, very lovely and charming show named Skip and Loafer. And I feel like the best way I can describe my feelings for Senpai as an Otokonoko is by saying that it gave me very similar feelings to Skip and Loafer. And Skip and Loafer is also probably my favorite anime series of all time and also one of my favorite manga series, so that is probably one of the greatest compliments that I could ever give to anything. But the characters are so adorable. They have so much fun, charming comedy to them and just really amazing relationships all around. And the individual character growth and the exploration is probably the best that I watched all year. And these characters go through it. Like, there are some really heartbreaking moments in this anime. And a lot of it comes down to the show's handling and exploration of their LGBTQ+ themes, because this show does it in a way that I've never seen an anime do before. And it shows the impact that that kind of hatred and bigotry and just bullying can have on a person, and how that can also lead to very much internalized things as well and self-hatred. The series is also very coming of age, and all three characters have their own struggles and things going on, but they also really come together as well, and they have some really, really beautiful moments. Like, I love and adore them all individually, but their friendship together and whatever else comes is already one of my favorite things in this world. So yeah, I never really saw this anime coming at all. I have so much love for them, and I do actually think that they might have my heart like a little bit more than my number one here, and that's saying something. Like, it was nearly impossible for my heart to be the one to make this decision between these two shows, so I had to use my brain instead. And when it comes to both my manga reading life and also my anime watching life, there really is only one series that just won the year for me. So with that, my favorite anime of 2024 is going to be Kaiju number 8, and Kaiju number 8 follows our main character Kafka Hibino, who wants to chase his dream of defeating Kaiju by the side of his childhood best friend, which was a dream that he had previously given up on, but when the time comes for him to try again, he ends up gaining the power to turn into a Kaiju himself. And that is a very simple description for what is ultimately kind of a very simple series. But they do what they do extremely well, and they do it with some of my favorite characters ever, and it is a very large cast of characters. I have a lot of favorites. And again, they have a lot of chemistry together and a lot of fun banter and comedy, and you can really feel how much that they love and care for one another as well. There are also a lot of rivalries. There's something almost sports anime or manga like about it. Like, it's always been a little bit reminiscent of Haikyuu's energy to me, which again, one of the greatest compliments I could ever give anything. But this is also another series about never giving up on your dreams while also kind of just being realistic about it as well. And it's also infused with so much inspiration and hope. There's a lot of heart here all around, but this is also an action anime about fighting kaiju. And 2024 was also the year that I read and got fully immersed in the Kaiju number 8 manga. And I caught up a few months before the anime adaptation started, and it just quickly became one of my favorite things ever once I started reading it. And I knew that in order for their anime adaptation to be in this position on this list, the animation needed to be correct, because the action scenes are so clean and incredible in the manga, and thankfully they are equally as fun to watch in the anime. They have some really amazing animation, even if I don't always love how it lends itself to the character designs, and on that note, please fix Captain Narumi before the second season comes out, please and thank you. But everything just feels so high-powered, and I got so much joy out of watching all of our characters here, especially combined with the OST. And Mina and her canon lived up to my expectations adaptations, and just watching her shoot that thing is one of my favorite things in this world. So while it doesn't really sound like something that should be a huge factor when it comes to ranking and reviewing this anime, it is very important to me personally. And like I said, I feel like all of our characters got to thrive here, and I've always really loved so many of these characters, but it does feel like I love them a little bit more now somehow. Maybe it's something about seeing them come to life with the animation and the voice acting, I don't know. Even though I do still feel like I love their manga more than I love their anime, and I do have a full review of their manga up on my channel if you want more details on my thoughts on this series, because I am caught up to their manga and their spin-offs, and even though I do love the manga a little bit more, this was everything that I could have asked for in terms of an adaptation. From the animation to the opening and ending credits, like, you could tell everyone put a lot of heart and energy and time and money into this show to make it what it is. And again, this is another one whose future I am very excited for as well, and I'm also very relieved about that. So yeah, they're my favorite anime of 2024. This very much did feel like the year of Kaiju number 8 for me, because it's just the year that we found each other. And I am so grateful for that, and just grateful for all of the amazing moments that this anime and also their manga have provided me. Okay, so that is the end of this video, but we still have many more things to rank and wrap up on this channel, including the video where I rank all of the manga that I read in 2024. That's going to be a long one. But for today, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!